Okay, well, welcome to the program. And on the program today, we have Desiree Crossing. So, would you like to introduce yourself, Desiree?
Hi, I'm Desiree Crossing.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Thanks.
So, yeah, the first thing I want to ask you about is you're in Western Australia, and what's been going on there with COVID? Like, how long has it been? Has it been in lockdown? Did you guys go into lockdown?
We went into a really brief lockdown, yes. It wasn't overly strict. It was quite strict. People panicked at first and bought all the toilet paper in the world and that sort of stuff. All the restaurants and bars and non-essential shops shut down. But Western Australia is pretty isolated in terms of, the world. So we really got things, sort of shut down and got rid of COVID pretty quickly. At the moment, everything sort of feels back to normal, except for the fact that we have a hard border with the rest of Australia at the moment. So we can go on holidays anywhere in the state apart from remote communities. And we can, everybody's going on holidays around WA.
Yeah,
The shops, the bars, anything really.
you're pretty
But we can't
lucky.
visit our grandma in South Australia.
Yeah, you're pretty lucky that Western Australia is such a big state too, and there's a lot to see. Like, if you do want to have a holiday, Western Australia, like if you're going to get stuck in a state, like even though, and I'm pretty sure it is the most isolated city in the world, Western Australia. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Perth in Western Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a good place to get stuck in. But how strange, people buying toilet paper. That was the one, that just got me when I heard people were buying toilet paper.
It's so weird.
What? Why? What of all the things I'm going to run out of dunny paper. Like, really?
And to hoard 2 years worth.
Yeah, this thing ain't going away. This thing's like, I need dunny paper. I need bog roll.
We're not going to be able to have access to toilet paper for the next 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely crazy.
Really selfish.
What's that?
Really selfish behaviour as well. A lot of people,
totally.
kind of want to buy things in bulk like that, and it was sort of.
Was there fighting? Did people fight over toilet paper and things like that in the shops? I mean, I guess it would have been on the news or something like that. I mean, I don't know.
Think there were some small fights around Australia, but I mean nothing too intense at all.
Yeah, and you've closed the borders, right? The borders are closed. I know all the borders. I think around Australia, all the borders are closed, right?
I don't think all the borders are closed, but I think WA might be the only one.
Victoria is definitely closed.
Some have closed borders from Victoria and New South Wales.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on exactly, but we're totally unable to move from here. And some WA residents have been stuck overseas or in other states, and they're not able to come back.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
Very, very strict with it.
Yeah. I've seen that. And didn't you guys arrest someone coming over the border? In jail,
Yeah,
right? In jail?
Pretty sure that's happened. Yeah.
Wow, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
It's a really intense situation for many reasons. I mean, there are people who can't be with their families for, funerals or for weddings, although I do believe they will allow you in for compassionate grounds like a funeral or a dying family member or something like that, with 2 weeks of quarantine. But, and obviously some people can't travel for work, as they would normally, so it can be restrictive. But other things have been really good as a result of it too. I mean, one, we don't have any COVID, but also the tourism industry in WA is just booming right now from people holidaying in WA instead of overseas.
Yeah. Well, also, you've got mining, right? Like, Western Australia is full of mining. So lots of people with lots of money. But also, didn't someone try and take the government to court?
Spoil my buzz by talking about that.
Insane, right? Insane. People with a lot of money think, they can do pretty much anything they want, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's insane. But it's great. It's great that people in Western Australia are traveling in Western Australia and still able to have holidays. I mean, man, that's got to be a good thing.
I tell you what, I went on a holiday to Ningaloo Reef, which is up probably about halfway up WA, and that was in the end of July.
Yeah,
and
so-
we swam with the whale sharks, we swam with dolphins, and there were killer whales and turtles, and it was just spectacular. And it was the middle of winter and 31 degrees, and
Yeah, beautiful.
with people.
Packed with
It
people.
was just unbelievable. It wasn't even school holidays or anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's intense. Okay, so now we're talking about holidays, right? I know that you went overseas, right? Now did you go to an art school? Did you go to an art school?
No, I did a couple of artist residencies while I was over there.
Okay, so what's involved in an artist residency?
It depends from residency to residency. They're all slightly different. The ones I did, the first one was in Tuscany. It was amazing.
Sounds it.
La Macchina di San Cresci.
Wow.
And it was in this old building. The room I was staying in was from, I think it was 1040 or something, the year 1040.
Whoa.
So that was unbelievable. It was an old church that I was sleeping in.
Wow.
And I just that kind of history for us, obviously, is so.
Yeah. Yeah. Us Aussies with no history. Yeah, we
Well,
don't have very much history at all, do we? Like
not the
couple of
Western
hundred
history,
years. Yeah, man.
We have the oldest living culture in the world, but
Yeah, that's
it's-
true. That's true.
it flows in a different way. So,
Yeah.
this was just beautiful, and that was very self-directed, so I could spend as much time working as I wanted there. And at the end, there was a small community presentation, so we had the locals, lots of artists there actually,
Yeah.
and
Right.
I gave a talk to them about the work I had produced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, now that's really, really interesting, right? So did you pick up things when you were there? Did you learn techniques, or pretty much what you do is what you know how to do and you haven't really added, or you have, obviously you're always learning, okay? Like with any type of art, you're always learning. But when you were overseas, like in Italy, right? Did you I first would have gone to see Caravaggio or something, because I'm a bit of an art nut myself, but I'm not super arty, but I totally would have gone to see Caravaggio.
Well, I went because I was so close to Florence. It was only like a 1-hour bus ride. I went to all the big galleries there that I could, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, right. And
So, Uffizi has a lot of Caravaggio, so
yeah.
so,
Wow.
yeah.
And do you have a favorite artist? I mean, I think that's probably a stupid question because there's so much, great art. So
What inspires you, changes from time to time. So what I found of greatest benefit being there was that immersion in a creative culture. Because,
yeah,
I mean, Australia, yes, we have the oldest, cave paintings, rock paintings in the world, really,
yeah.
I think some of them are rumored to be up to 90,000 years old. But we, as Australians, don't tend to have a very artistic culture. Not so much, it's not really valued as highly as it is in somewhere like Italy, I don't think.
Yeah, definitely.
Their street lights are artistic,
Yeah.
they're beautifully designed.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
just to be able to walk through the streets where there's just art everywhere. I mean, there are these ancient sculptures on the street corners and stuff.
Wow.
Just unbelievable.
Yeah, it does sound amazing. I went to, and have been to many times, and I love going back, is the National Gallery in Victoria. So I was born in Victoria. I haven't lived there for about, 30 years or something. But I used to love going to the National Gallery there. But I found that, and I was talking to my friend the other day about this, is that when you are presented with art or you stand in front of art, there's a communication that goes on between. That's my dog. Great, that'll be on the that'll be on the soundtrack. That there's a communication between you and the artwork that, like, it doesn't involve words, and you get meaning, but you also get feelings and emotions from standing in front of an artwork that you connect to somehow. And it's a very, very, I think the word for it is sublime. That tends to be the word that art people use about it, I think, as well. But it's a sublime thing that happens when there's some kind of space and a communication that goes on. But I'm wondering, for you as an artist, this is going to happen, right, with your art, but you won't necessarily know about it. Do you have, I guess what I'm asking is, do you have feelings that you somehow feel that you've put into the art as well?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it takes it to another level. And I don't like to overly explain my art to people because I want people to get what they get from it.
Yeah, definitely. And you don't want to cloud their idea of what they're getting from the art. Yeah, I can see that. A lot of
times people are, see something that's extremely personal in it for them that I could never have known about or explained to them. And maybe my explanation might have diminished that feeling for them. But when I'm painting a painting, I do, I spend so long, immersed in this process, and every brushstroke that I'm putting down, I'm thinking about, what's going in, like, it's all being sort of woven into the fabric of that painting. So I try to actually indulge that somewhat. If I'm doing a portrait of somebody, I might listen to music that I know that they love or loved.
Yeah.
Just try and get in touch with the soul of what you're trying to convey. And I find people do tend to pick up on those feelings when they're watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, so on that as well, though, so like trying to convey things. So you'd be aware of the pre-Raphaelite movement. Yeah, I love the pre-Raphaelite. I'm a big, I love them, totally love them. But they used to put things in, like their little things that they would put in that were kind of like personal jokes and stuff. Do you sometimes feel like, I'm just going to put this in there, no one's going to notice, and I'll just put that in there? I mean, I think it'd be great if you say yes, because I think everyone will just start looking at your paintings trying to find out what the thing was that you put in there.
I do put a lot of things in that maybe other people don't notice. I like to have a little bit of a sense of humour with my art. I don't know if you've seen my latest piece.
Yes, I have.
It's hilarious. Like, but I don't know that everybody else thinks it's as hilarious as I do.
Yeah, okay, and that's because there's a puppet, right? Yeah, and it's like gazing. It's got this strong gaze at like the a naked figure there.
This is bright green, ridiculous thing. And I was like, I basically, the painting itself isn't a joke, and it's a legitimate portrait of this beautiful local performer, but I think the way it's presented is hilarious, and the fact that I don't know, I found it very entertaining while I was doing it.
Yeah, that's great. I think that kind of comes out, and especially in, if you can say that a puppet has expression, it does, because it has a face, right? But it's kind of something in that, when you look at, that's Layla, right? Layla's the puppet.
Layla's the puppet.
Yeah. So like in Layla, you can kind of see there's definitely some kind of expression in there with her. So, what was I going to say? Something about the comedy of art. Do you find in your art, when you do your art, that there are, for you, elements of comedy? Because I remember you had the picture of the McDonald's character. Very, that's one that just messes with you, I think, that when you watch it. When I saw it, I was just like, wow, it's messing with me on a lot of levels.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
John McDonough. And for one, I think finding the subject, the perfect subject for your painting is really important.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's such an exciting, fun human being. And he's always the life of the party, and he's got these great characters that he plays. He's a magician.
Yeah, okay.
And so, like, choosing him as the subject was the first step, but then trying to show a different side of him, and a few clues into his personality, the painting.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit here. But we'll carry on. Are there any paintings that you want to talk about that you would like to say, or are some paintings more special for you than others?
For sure. After this Lola and Layla painting was completed, I really wanted to go on a bit of a self-education journey. I've been doing lots of sketches. Am I breaking up again a little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I can hear it because it feeds back the me talking to myself. So I wanted to do a little bit of self-educating, and I wanted to experiment, with different styles of painting and push myself to be a stronger painter. So I've been doing lots and lots of sketches and live painting and things like that. Something like the Lola and Layla painting, spent 2.5 months on. So
yeah, that's getting really personal, right?
It's a really special painting to me. I've painted a couple of others like that. I painted one for a friend of mine whose best friend had passed away, and it was a portrait of his best friend.
Yeah,
and that was a really special one to me as well. I felt really honoured to be able to paint that for him.
Yeah.
But these sketches and things like that, I'm not as invested in them, but I can see what they do for my future work.
Yeah.
And so in that way, they're meaningful too. But the ones that are special are the ones that I really put my energy into.
Yeah, your heart, right? Your heart and soul goes into them. And that's really interesting because you say you spend a lot of time with the painting. Do you feel like there's a relationship? Like, I'm sure there must be some kind of way you're like, God damn it, if you could only just be, that was easier, or like if I could just get that right, or God, you're being such a pain in the ass, like talking to the painting, going, God, why can't you be nice to me and make things easier?
I don't tend to get angry with my paintings or frustrated with my paintings, but I feel like on some level you need to fall in love with your subject a little bit. So even when I'm painting dogs or flowers or, Lola and Layla, there's some element where you're just in love with that, skin or the colours, or, you fall in love with it a little bit, and that's what helps drive it through. And I find myself talking to my subject sometimes, be them dogs or people. And it's beautiful. And when I don't feel that vibe, for whatever reason, it's unusual, but if I don't feel that, then I notice it comes through in the painting.
Yeah, right. So so when you say you notice it doesn't come through in the painting, do you mean like you're less satisfied with the painting, or?
Yeah, it just doesn't tend to be as good a painting.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so if any budding artists out there, what would you say to them? Fall in love with your subject. Let's not break marriages here, but
I think patience is a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, months and months.
I know now that if I'm painting something and it's not working correctly, that in time that I can bring it around to what I want it to be. And that's, I think, why I don't get frustrated with my painting anymore.
Yeah, so...
Patience.
Yeah, patience. So what's the process like for you for doing your art? So say from when... Do you start with your sketches and you just kind of find ideas and then go, right, I'm going to do this as a painting?
I'm a bit of a daydreamer, so I will, be going for walks, or I'll be, doing something like that, and I will be daydreaming about my paintings, almost, sort of just having ideas usually while I'm walking. And once I come on an idea that I can't shake, I know that's the idea for me, and I will sometimes think about it for months.
Yeah.
And then I act on it. I usually have to ask my subject if it's cool if I paint them at first, and usually they say yes, so I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
And then I will usually stage a scene, and I will have seen sort of what I want it to be like in my mind already. Am I breaking up again?
No, that's my headphones are falling off.
Okay. So I'll stage it to as close as I can to what's in my mind, and then we'll have the model come in and I'll photograph that, and then I will, start the process of the painting. Usually for those sorts of big ones, I work off photographs because, it's nicer on them for their time.
Yeah. I can see that. So when you say photographs, do you set the scene in your studio and photograph it and then, and then work from the photograph there? Yeah, it's really, really interesting. I find art a fascinating thing purely because it tends to be one of the things in life where words don't make it. Words just don't cut it. You can say, I love it, I like it, it's great, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. But none of those words really capture what you're feeling when you look at art. Do you have any favorite works of art? Are there any ones that you go, man, that piece? Like for me, in the National Gallery of Victoria, there's a piece called The Sirens, and it's massive. It's a massive piece. It must be 12 or 15 feet high, probably about 6 or 7 feet across. And it's very, very old oil. It's like, I think it might be cracking a little bit. Anyone at the Art Gallery of Victoria, don't take that as an insult. But it's just like one of those paintings that, and you have to get, like when you stand back from it, you can't see the whole picture. It's very, very dark. And as you get closer, you see more and more and more of the picture. I'm just fascinated by it, and I love to go and look at it. But do you
know who the artist is?
I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, because I've been to that gallery so many times that I'm wondering.
Yeah, it's got an arch at the top of it as well, and it's at the end of a hallway with a statue in the center of the hallway. I can just see the whole thing.
You have to send me a photo of it.
Yeah, I'll find a photo.
They have the JW Waterhouse one. I think it's Odysseus. When he's tied to the ship balance. The ship mast.
Yeah.
And the sirens are in like harpy form kind of thing.
Yeah. This one I'm pretty sure it's called The Sirens, but it's like rocks. There's rocks, and it's like most of the painting is rocks, but at the bottom is the girls. At the bottom.
I would love it if you send it to me.
Yeah. I'll see. I could be totally wrong about what the name of it is, but I will. Yeah, it's probably someone will comment someone and say, "You idiot! This is the name of it. What are you thinking?"
No. People wait to that. I think there have been some really amazing paintings that I've seen. I love JW Waterhouse. So that one of Odysseus in that gallery is just stunning. There's also the one, I'm trying to remember the name of the artist, and it's the one of the sheep in the snow, and she's protecting her lamb who's died from the crows.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember that one. Sorry.
It's just like, it's a really heart-wrenching little snapshot. But I saw my first Liechtenstein at the Museum of Modern Art in New York.
Wow.
And that was incredible. Like, I love Liechtenstein, and that painting was just like so much more beautiful in real life than you could ever have imagined in print.
All right, there's one that you have to send me a link for. Yeah. Yeah. So while we're on it, do you know James Gleeson? He's an Australian. Yeah. So he's an Australian artist that hung out with Dali. They were friends, and there's a lot of his work around the place. I think he died in 1988. I think might have been 98. I have a DVD of his, and I've got like a book of his works as well. But he's a surrealist as well. But his stuff is way past Dali. It's pretty intense. So what I'd like to ask you on that note are there styles that you favor over other styles? And I don't mean just that you like to paint, but styles that you really, what you go, wow, I want to go and see that style.
It's really interesting. I was obsessed with surrealists when I was younger, and Dali was hands down my favorite.
Yeah.
I also love Magritte and but they're not necessarily my favorite anymore. I do adore Dali and his content, but I find that it can sometimes be a bit hard, and sometimes I love, a beautiful abstract piece. Sometimes that can move me more than something that's as, perfectly rendered or what have you. The like Kandinsky. I've seen some Kandinsky's paintings that are just blow your mind in real life. But I love they're a little bit, a bit of a play between realism and then complete abstraction.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I feel like it's all about the energy that goes into a painting that really
can affect you. Right. I think like you were talking about the one with the girl and the lamb, and I like those paintings where you kind of get it. You just get the picture when you see it, and it's just how it's structured and placement of things in the art, but you get the story. I guess sometimes I like to look at some art and get the story from it. Sometimes you get that, sometimes you don't get the story, but you get other things, and you're just like, whoa. And that, I think what the wonderful thing about art is that it's not always the story. It's and sometimes you just are completely surprised by something that you just like, why do I feel this way looking at this? It's nothing. How is this being communicated to me? Why do I feel upset, or why do I have such intense emotions or something about it? And I'm fascinated by that to do with art. Yeah.
So exciting. Who are your favorite artists? I know obviously Caravaggio is one.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of favorite artists, but again, I also like sculpture, so I'm really, really a big fan of Rodin. Yeah, but I went to an exhibition in Perth too that was St. Petersburg, which was the Russian artists' a collection, and that was wonderful.
Was that probably about 20 years ago, the Russian avant-garde?
Oh no, I'm sure it was last week. 20 years ago. Well, actually, it probably was 20 years ago. Yeah, maybe even, probably, around then. Yep.
Kandinsky and the Russian avant-garde.
Yeah, absolutely.
It blew me away.
Some of that was just amazing. Yeah, But I like exhibitions. I'm a fan of exhibitions and collections. I'm terrible at remembering names of who painted what, and it's terrible, isn't it? Because artists deserve a bit more respect than that. But I'm really, really terrible. But sometimes I see a painting, and I tend to buy the books as well, so that I can look at the artwork when I'm, away from, because you can't just go to galleries all the time, and some of those places are a long way away as well. I haven't been to France. I haven't been to the Louvre. I haven't seen Rodin, but I do love Monet. I do really, really love Monet, and some of those really classical artists. I find pretty impressive.
I get blown away by the ancient stuff. Just the pure size, the scale of it. I was in the British Museum last year, and I got to sit next to one of those lamassu, which were those ones that guarded the, they were the gates to one of those Assyrian cities.
Yeah.
And they're just massive and just so awe-inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that in the modern right now, or they say postmodern, but potato, that we've lost something? Do you think we've lost something?
No.
No? That's interesting. I mean, I'm interested because we just don't. I guess what my point is, we don't seem to have masters.
There are so many masters out there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So maybe the quality is higher, but I mean yeah. I suppose we do have traveling. Do we have? Look, I'm not in the art scene, so I can't really answer this. But maybe do we have like traveling exhibitions of people that are considered to be masters nowadays?
Traveling exhibitions? I'm not sure. I feel like maybe not in Australia.
Yeah,
So much,
and Western Australia.
The scene's entirely different if you go to Europe, UK, or I'm not sure about Asia, but definitely through Europe, it's very different.
Yeah. So do you think that art is still a European thing then, really, predominantly? Yeah.
Like, the Europeans collect art still. Not so many Australians are art collectors. Not some are, but not so many.
Yeah, and so your point before too was that Australians aren't really art creators either as much.
No. That wasn't what I was saying. I was saying that like culturally.
Yeah.
Australians don't it's not as valued in our culture as much. We don't even have a Department of Arts anymore.
Yeah.
We've been lumped in with the Department of Transport and Infrastructure, and if that's not absolute bullshit, I don't know what is.
Yeah, well, that's pretty outrageous, really. And so on this point, right, the valuing of art. Like Australia, we just don't really place much value on it, do we? Like artists tend to be people like when I was growing up, so I'm a bit older than you, but when I was growing up, people used to talk about art, like, wonderful pieces of art. But then if you wanted to be an artist, they were like, fuck off, go and get a job, you dickhead. Like, what are you doing? That's not a real thing to do. Like, you can't be an artist. That's what? You want to what? That's ridiculous. Why would you do that?
The arts, generally speaking, as a broad sort of industry, they bring in so much money into, like Australia, like people bag out the arts. They don't realise the art, people are making the music they're listening to on the radio. They're, designing the clothes that they're wearing, the posters that they're seeing.
Yeah.
Art is everywhere. So it's not just somebody painting a picture. The arts, are such a part of their life and they're not even realising it. I don't know. It's just kind of.
I think so I don't know if you know, but I'm a teacher, right? So I think when I was teaching or maybe later, there was like a lot of talk about just scrapping art, and a lot of schools don't really think that art is a legitimate subject. And also, so I'm teaching in China now, and it's the same here. But the talent, the absolute talent of students who are 13, 14 years old, magnificent pieces of art that are almost doodles in class. And I'm just like, what? Why, why aren't you doing art? Why aren't you doing art? But it's not offered. It's not really offered. And it's really, it is valued in the Chinese culture, definitely. Chinese like to make things artistic, they're always adding art to everything, all the time. But it's kind of a niche that only certain people can do. It's which I think is how it used to be in Europe, right? And I think that was the same kind of thing. Art was kind of only available to certain people. Like you could to be an artist?
I think because of the economics of it,
Yeah.
really. Because as an artist, you have to, support yourself. And so it was generally people with money who could afford to do that. And to have the education, if education was a thing, an arts education. But yeah, it breaks my heart because that's such an important time of your life, when you're 15.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
To have somebody encourage you to do, something that you're passionate about when you're that age can make a huge difference.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely work, if I see anything that a student does, and I mean, they're pretty shy because they don't like you to see, they're very shy of what they do. I've got one student that's doing a graphic novel, which is awesome. And I'd seen a few pictures of it, and he was telling me the story and all that. And then he said, "You're in it. Do you know you're in it?" And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, you're this guy." And I'm like, "Really? Is that me?" He's like, "Yeah, that's you." And then he's going, and he's telling me this is the other students in the class, and this is that student. And he's made all his characters. He's got the stories are made of, fictitious characters, but he's based them on, what he knows.
That's
Which
beautiful.
is, it's fantastic. And I'm sure that you feel the same as I do about this, is that art is such an important thing in life. If we ever got to be being a society without art, we also would almost become a soulless society, I think. There's something about that.
There's a reason why ancient civilizations are remembered by their art.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not only because of the fact that it lasts, or it used to last. There are other reasons, it's because it captures the soul of a culture.
Yeah. Now, are you teaching art as well? Do you teach?
I teach privately, so I have a few private students, but I also teach at a private school just for a term every year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it. They're all that same age. They're 15, 16. Some of them are just so eager to learn, and they'll take on everything you say, and you can see them develop and grow. Their portraits, I teach portrait painting.
Mm-hmm.
You see their skills grow over the course of that term, and others are just really reluctant to, learn anything. They're like, whoa, and you're like, relax.
Yeah.
Painting, take it on. If you want to, I think actually your ego has to somewhat go out of the window when you're learning to paint. When you're learning anything, you have to know that you're always going to be learning, and that, and you have to, to make a career in it, you have to come to terms with the fact you're going to get a lot of people who don't like it, don't think it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of across the board, right, with the arts. It's like, if you're a musician, there's going to be people who go, "Man, that is shit. I hate that." And you're going to have other people who are going to come up and go, "Man, that's awesome. Play it again." It's a crazy.
Sometimes they'll think that the stuff that you think is shit is fantastic. Sometimes they'll hate the stuff that you thought was your best.
Yeah.
It's so subjective, you just got to roll with it and do what you love to do.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful, necessary thing, and I'm really disappointed with governments. And like you say, it's part of what? Transport and
infrastructure.
I don't know. Is there hope? Is there hope for us? Because I know they've slashed funding. I think. Has the Blue Room closed down? For the people who are listening and don't know about Western Australia, the Blue Room is, how would you explain it? It's a theatre, right, for community theatre, I guess, really, where you can apply
it's emerging theatre artists, I think.
Yeah. So there's a process.
It's sort of professional, but it's So I wouldn't describe it as community, but it's designed to offer a space for up-and-coming theatre artists,
but it was government funded, right? Yeah. And am I right in saying that it's closed down now?
I'm pretty sure it's going still.
Oh,
We
okay.
lost the theatre company. That's closed.
Ah, okay.
That was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, right. I remember seeing something about it, and I was like, oh man, that's gone. I performed at Recabites. Do you remember Recabites?
Yeah, that must have been a while ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah.
But you'll be happy to know that Recabites is back.
Wow.
As a general space. So at the moment it's operating as a bar and Fringe. It has lots of performances happening and it's really cool.
Ah, that's great. That's great. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that is a wonderful thing about Perth is the Fringe Festival. Have you,
Yeah.
I'm guessing you go every year.
Yeah.
Well, when you can, yeah.
I've performed in it heaps as well in one way or another.
Yeah. Oh, now that's something I wanted to ask you about, if it's okay. Is is you used to do roller derby, right?
Oh yeah. I'm actually wearing my old roller derby sweat.
Oh, there we go.
See that.
Yeah,
But,
got a quick look at that. Can you tell me about that? How you got into roller derby?
I love the 80s. I think it really started there.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, I used to always want to go roller skating, but we couldn't go very much. And
Okay.
I met this girl I used to do some face painting on weekends, and I met this chick, and she and I were instant best friends. And she was telling me about roller derby, and I was like, I've wanted to do that for so long. She said, come along, I'll, mentally, basically.
Yeah.
And she took me along, and it was so good. Get to, just whooshing around on your skates, wind in your hair,
Yeah.
smashing some girls. Usually I was the one getting smashed up, but
Yeah. So, look, I don't know much about roller derby, and I've seen maybe a handful of videos of roller derby events, right? But are there rules?
Yeah, there are a lot of rules, but you might not know it by watching it. It's pretty hectic out there.
Yeah. So, can you explain to me just how you win roller derby?
All right, so you have two teams on track.
Yeah.
Each team has 4 blockers,
Yeah.
and each team has one skater with a star on their helmet.
Okay. Yeah.
And that is called the jammer. And it's the jammer's job to pass through the track, pass through all the blockers of the opposition.
Okay.
And the blockers are designed to stop her, while at the same time helping their jammer get through.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I get it now.
It's a full contact sport.
Yeah.
She gets a point for every member of the opposition that she passes in a lap.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And
I had to learn to skate from scratch. I couldn't skate at all, really. So you're out there all wobbly and stuff, and then people start bump into you, and you're like, ah.
Oh, that's just fantastic. Such a fantastic picture.
It was crazy.
So
so much fun.
Yeah, it appears to be something akin to like rugby on skates.
Yeah.
And just bumping and knocking. Is there like where you come off the track, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if you come off the track, I'm guessing there's something to save you.
So we weren't playing the banked track. We were playing flat track.
Okay.
So
okay.
thank goodness. Those girls, they're like, so, they must be crazy. I don't understand. It's terrifying with the banked track.
Yeah. Right. Wow. That's yeah. I just remembered that you used to do it, and I really wanted to find out about it because I don't know anything about it, and I've seen it, and it looks like it's just violent and crazy.
I
And
got so messed up, like twisted ankles, like all the time, and my knees got damaged, and I just had the best time. But I love roller skating. I love being on wheels. I love the adrenaline. I love I go to the roller listen to 80s music and roll around and just have a good time. Jam skate. So
Great.
for me, I decided that maybe I didn't need to get that badly injured all the time to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I just do it for fun now.
Yeah, right. And you were also a ward clerk at Royal Perth. Yes.
I was. That's how we met.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Yes. Um, and tell me a little bit about that. You got any stories? Good stories?
Oh man,
Any stories?
it was a really interesting environment. You'll
Oh
probably
yeah,
agree with me on that.
yeah,
It
definitely.
could be the most hectic, heart-wrenching place, um,
Yeah, yeah.
but also incredible and just a wonderful life experience, I think.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I found working in the hospital was like you see the absolute best of people and the absolute worst of people,
Yeah,
and everything in between. And you see,
yeah,
people treat people really well, and you see people treat people really badly, and you see people that have had horrific things happen to them and they fall apart and they're just destroyed, and you see other people have had horrific things happen and they're just angels almost, just like
yeah,
it's just, yeah, I think it was a really great thing to see humanity, I guess, if I was going to put it, in a word, just all those different, types of people. It's like a
yeah.
microcosm of society, isn't it? And it's because
It's
everything's
incredible.
so intense in a hospital. Like, no one's there
Yeah.
because they want to be, except maybe some people who work there. Yeah, but
And it's also like everyone's equal there, everyone's
yeah.
vulnerable in the same spot. It doesn't matter like who you are, it's all the same.
Yeah, that's it. Well, they do say that doctors make the worst patients. They do say that. And my brother's a doctor, by the way, so no offense there, Roger. I know you've been in hospital a few times, and I've heard glowing reports.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. No, I'm sure he was a pretty good patient. But yeah, but yeah. I mean, just a fascinating, and I would really, if anyone is listening to this that's considering going into work in a hospital, I would definitely recommend it. Would you recommend it to someone? I
I
think
would. I couldn't do it. I did it for quite a few years, maybe like 10 years.
that's not a
But
bad that's not a bad effort.
yeah,
10 years.
it wasn't good for my soul long term, I don't think. It was hard. And you know, meet people that you'd work with as patients for like 3 months and only to see them just deteriorate and die. And
Yeah, yeah,
just really good, kind people. You'd see it taught me a lot of lessons as well. I worked in ICU
yeah, yeah,
for a while, and there were all these young boys, like 20-year-old,
yeah,
speeding or drink driving and just in car accidents.
yeah,
So I was like, understand, stupidity of some totally avoidable things, and just how precious life is as well. Every year, people complain about getting old, and I'm like, it's an absolute privilege to get old. So
yeah,
many people don't have that,
yeah.
that privilege. So
Yeah, I think.
definitely,
Yeah, I think for me, I only lasted about four years, I think, in Royal Perth. But I think what it did to me was you've got to live your life. You
yeah,
really, it's like that some of those people that are in there were not thinking about having to be in hospital the day before or hours before they were there,
yeah,
and how quickly things change, and to anyone,
yeah,
anyone. Yeah, absolutely crazy. And so I think for me, it was like that's why I left, I think, was, I've got to go do some stuff. I'm not done. I'm not done with all the stuff I'm going to do. I'm not going to stay in the hospital. Yeah,
yeah,
but no offense to all the people who stay in the hospital, because you do a great job. You really, really,
yeah,
really do a wonderful job. Yeah, in the hospital and in all the hospitals, I'm sure, in the world, people do a great job. And I think unless you've worked in a hospital, you don't really understand. And yeah, like for us, people, we know when you come into the hospital, you're on the edge, right? You're coming to visit someone and you're upset and all that. We know you don't have to let it out on the people that work there. That's.
yeah,
But and we understand why you do as well. I think, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's a tough thing. Okay. Any more questions? Do you have any questions about China?
I would love to know sort of a bit about what you're doing. Are you teaching a specific subject, or do you have a year group that you look after? What's the structure there?
Yeah, okay. So here in China, I teach high school at what they call an international department within a bigger school. And now school sizes in China are insane. The school that I'm at, and I'm in a place that is considered to be akin to a village of only 700,000 people. Right, that's where I am. I'm in this tiny place, this tiny 700,000 people place, and they say, and people, I talk to people, from other places in China, and they say to me, "Oh, where's that?" It's like, I say, "Oh," like, "Oh, it's a small place. You'd never have heard of it. Just this little out the way, little place." And the school, and that this is not the only school here, but the school that I teach at has 6,000 students.
Wow.
Yeah, but I don't have 6,000 students because I'm in the international department. So I have 100 students, about 100 students. And I teach not art, I teach English, and I do drama with them, but we do a play. Like at the end of semester, we do a play. We butcher something, something gets butchered. The Chinese they really like to be able to tell the parents that their students are doing Shakespeare. So we do Shakespeare, but we do it in about, I think the time limit they give me is about 10 minutes. I tend to get, yeah. So 2 hours to 10 minutes. We tend to get there through about 15 minutes. The first one was 20 or about 23. But it's just kind of major scenes and like just snippets of major scenes and get to the end. And I have lots of voiceover in between, filling the gaps of what's happened, in between. So yeah. But they built me a stage. The school built me a stage. It's tiny. It's really, really tiny. But I'm working slowly and slowly. And they wouldn't have it black because they thought that was unlucky. So I have these rich, deep red curtains, maroon curtains, and then on the sides, the wings are white, like just white wall, like this wall, and yeah, it gets better, and so then they had like a wooden stage that they raised up maybe a foot, yeah, and it's wooden, and I painted it black. And they were like, "Oh, no, we can't have that." So it's now got carpet. They asked me what carpet I would like. And the options that they gave me, obviously none of them were black. So I thought, well, what's one that's going to at least not affect the lighting too much? Yeah. Well, wait, we didn't have lighting. I bought lighting for it, but it's small, so it wasn't too much. There wasn't too much lighting. But yeah, so I went with grey. I thought, grey is like about the best I can do. And now I've kind of got a workaround where you can get like velvet tablecloths here, right? And they're pretty cheap, and you can get them really big, like about 2 meters or 3 meters by 1.5 meters, probably. Is about the biggest one you can get. So I bought black ones, and I put them on the floor. And I got them sewn together. Yeah, and then I bought room dividers, the flexible room dividers, and I hung those black things over them. And I just put them around the sides of the stage and hung the black things over that. And now I have a black stage. So the last performance, I had a black stage and I had color. We could see color. It wasn't with a red background and all that. So I was pretty excited about that. You can probably tell. I was like, I really, really wanted to have a stage that I could work with that was a lot of fun. But my job is as an English teacher. But I work at two places. I work at a language school and I work so I work every day. I view my time in China. So I used to work FIFO for a while. I used to drive dump trucks and that's another long story. But I view China as FIFO because China actually has really, really good holidays. The Chinese have holidays, yeah. So I get 3 months a year, which is about the same as Australia, but I get a block of 1 month and then a block of 2 months. So
That's great.
so
Yeah.
4 months, 5 months, 1 month off, 4 months, 2 months off. That's nice. So I just think of it in FIFO. I think 5 months on, 1 month off, 4 months on, 2 months off. And
Do you,
what's that?
do you travel through China when you have that time off, or do you tend to go somewhere else?
Yeah. So I don't really go to Australia. I pretty much live in Thailand now. So
Oh.
so I go to Thailand, and I have 4 motorcycles in Thailand, and I ride around Thailand and look at everything.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
That's
unreal.
awesome.
Yeah, it's unreal. It's a great time. It's a great time. Yeah, it's a fun time. So, okay, while we're on China, what, if anything, do you know about China, or do you know about even Chinese art or Eastern arts and Eastern styles?
What interests me about China, Chinese history, is the science and how advanced it was compared to, you know, sort of some of the Western cultures. My dad is a geologist, and he spent some time working in China some years ago, and he goes to all the sort of more remote places, and it astounded me because people there hadn't seen a white person before in some of these
Yeah,
remote places. So you have this extremely advanced culture in some places, like very modern, and
yeah.
then in the more remote areas, it's extremely, isolated as well. That
Okay,
interests me.
so when I walk down the street here, I see, you see people and they're like this, and then you're there and they follow you, and they're like taking photos. I was sitting eating a meal, and there was a Chinese couple opposite me, because it's like just a table, and it's a very crowded place. And I'm eating noodles with chopsticks, and because I'm hungry. And the girl is sitting at the table next to me, and she's like this, and she's filming me eating noodles. I was like, oh my God. And they'd stop and stare, just
Yeah.
look at you walking down the street. Oh, that's
Yeah.
a foreigner, a Laowai, that's what they call us. And they just look at you. It's like, it's weird. It's a weird thing, because it's like, I know I'm not famous, but I kind of feel like I am, like I walk down the street and look, everyone's looking at me. And yet, nah, and then you kind of start getting self-conscious, like, oh, have I got anything? No. It's like, it's a very strange feeling. But
Yeah.
it's a fascinating place. It's a truly fascinating place. And I would recommend that if you ever wanted to go somewhere that will challenge you, that will definitely challenge your ideas. I think in Western culture, there's just so much not known about China and not taught about China. We're not told about China and the Chinese people. And until you
There's so
hear...
much politics, that's getting in the way of that.
Oh, definitely. And just so much that, there's like this one idea in it. And until I came here, and I came here blind, I came here from Thailand. I've been teaching in Thailand. And I came here and I was just, what is this place? It's kind of like America. It's like
Really?
lots of, well, where I live, and again, I'm in a small village, so, we're probably a little bit out of touch here, but, everyone's driving really nice cars here. And I mean really nice. So we're talking 4-door Porsches and Audis and Mercedes, and, I rarely see a clunker. Every now and again I see a clunker, but it's like they're the exception, not the rule. The rules are like, there's guys downstairs that have Ferraris. I'm like, what? I thought Chinese people were poor, and they were like, these oppressed people, and really struggling and wanting to be free, and or something like that. Before I came here, and it's just the amount of money blew me away, like just amazing. But yeah, it's
And it's
just...
growing and growing as well.
Oh yeah. It's just getting, they own so much stuff, and they've got so much stuff, everything you want you can get in China, and I can do it on my phone. If like my whole recording setup in this studio was delivered to me, and I bought it on my phone, And anything I wanted, if I'm missing a cable, I just go and I buy it on my phone, and they bring it, and I go downstairs and get it. Anything.
That's incredible, isn't it?
I do not have to go to the shops for anything, like literally anything. There's no need for me to go to a shop in China. Yeah, and that is insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
But it's also a little bit scary because you can spend a lot of money really quickly. Yeah.
So what do you think has been the most exciting part of your experience in China?
Yeah, it's going to be a silly answer, but that's like the most exciting thing for me has been doing the plays. I've loved doing the plays. Yeah, it's definitely. I like I said, I come here to work, right? So I work every day, and I think of it as fly in, fly out. So I don't go sightseeing. I don't go to see anything very much. It's like, and this is weird, right? 700,000 people, and where I live in this city, I think there are like two bars. Two bars to go to, and no one kind of goes to them much, and but everyone goes out to eat. That's the thing. That's the thing here. People dine out, and they dine out till 8 o'clock, and then good night, everyone. Right, we're all 8 o'clock. That's it. And if you're a foreigner, then it's like, where's the bar? At 8 o'clock, you're like, okay, now where's the bar? I'm not going to bed yet. But yeah, it's like clockwork. When you go to a dinner, it's going to start at 5 and it'll finish at 8, and that's it. Like, it's done. Wow. Yeah, and everyone's just like, it's almost like you can look at your watch, and about 5 to 8, everyone's just sort of kind of packed up and getting ready, and then everyone stands up about 8 o'clock, and thanks for coming, and yeah, we'll see you later. Yeah, it's
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a really, really different culture. Really different.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, I believe that the Chinese are pretty misunderstood. I mean, definitely there are, political things, like you say, that are definitely concerning to the West. Yep. And I'm sure that there are things going on in the West that are concerning to the Chinese too.
I'm sure as well.
I don't think it's, okay, here, I have a question for you. Have you seen or heard anything about what's going on in America? I'm just a blanket question about, like, with COVID and protests and things. What's sort of your experience of what's happening? Like, is America going insane, do you think?
It sounds like there's, my dad was here earlier today, and he said to me, it's like America's going through a revolution and they're not even prepared to admit it,
Yeah.
It's like there are so many problems that have been brewing, like systemic problems have been brewing for so many years, and just building and growing under the surface. That is also coming to a head. It's been the pandemic. It's been, this leader that's really split people's opinions, like, really dramatically. Like, all this, and then obviously the police violence, the police brutality has been a problem for a long time, but it was just this one incident that really, I think it's to do with the video footage, really, that really was the final straw for many people. It just seems like everything is starting to fall apart.
Yeah, it does. Obviously, these things are things that we get from media. One of the things that was a real eye-opener to me, and, if I hadn't have heard it or seen it in, like, a documentary, I would still be blind to it, to my own, detriment, really, is that we think of the internet as Western. Like, when you and I are on the internet, Facebook feeds you things that you normally look at, your friends' feeds and things that you're interested in. And so you never see, you won't see anything from, I get a lot of stuff from Thailand because I have a lot of friends in Thailand, so I get a lot of stuff in Thai. So, I'm probably even more stupid that I didn't realize it myself. But the Russians, are on Facebook, and the Russians have been getting involved in the American shit. They've been getting involved in the Black Lives Matter and geeing them up on one side, and the same Russians have been geeing them up on the other side, and then saying, let's have a meeting, let's have a protest and we'll have it here. And the other Russians are saying to the other group, let's have it here, and making sure that they're right next to each other when they have that meeting, and sparking, and manipulating American culture for externally, because everyone thinks that Facebook and all that sort of thing and social media is Western. And so we forget that there's a certain amount of anonymity that you can have and unreality to who people claim to be.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually like I think perhaps now a well-known thing in the higher up, like in the hierarchy in the government in America, that the Russians have actively been saying, hey, look, America's destabilized, and look at how they're doing it, and they're doing it to each other, and well, what if we get involved, and then what?
That doesn't surprise me at all. It's also very clever.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, stupid Westerner is, like, you just don't think that the person who's G'ing you up. I've got friends in Australia who, repost things, a lot of things that are quite highly political, and, they're kind of like, well, I'm not naming them, so I can say redneck, and, having those kind of, ideas about, like pretty anti-Black Lives Matter, kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, do you know where you're getting this? Like, and I look at their stuff and I'm thinking, is that from Russia? Is that sent to you so that you'll start kicking up in Australia? Are they going to try and, like, get us? Because I know, and I thought it was really strange that the Black Lives Matter thing came to Australia. Not that I don't, I'm not either way, right? So I do not want to get involved in that at all, right? Especially on a podcast. But that translated to Australia, that it just became, Australia just went, yep, America's doing it, we'll have it, we'll have that, we'll get on board. And cops taking a knee, and the fuck if I even know what that means, taking a knee. Like, in America, it's its own thing, it's got a whole bunch of stuff goes with taking a knee. But in Australia, it ain't no thing, it's like, I've never taken a knee for anything. And I was in the army for a while, and but you see soldiers and you see police and that doing it. And then I saw police in Australia doing it, I think, in Victoria maybe. And, I'm kind of a bit scared about that, about the permeation of... That doesn't...
Like those Russians, obviously it's been shown now that they were paying like Taliban fighters, per American soldier that they shot, things like that as well.
Yeah, right, wow.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's just a very strange thing.
I think you come from you must have a trusting, like, open heart when you're looking at things on the internet, and take things up. Not at face value, but, you see someone, and you're like, yeah, all right, well, that's, I do the same. I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. That person is that person they say they are.
Yeah.
Until they message you and ask you, if, you have a boyfriend and you want to get married, and send them.
Yes, send them money, and can I move to Australia? Yeah, goal. Do you get that often, Des? Do you get that?
Do you know, just lately my Instagram I'm getting tons of messages that they're from accounts with 0 followers and no photos and things, and they're like, do you believe in love at first sight? And I'm like,
well, yeah. Do you ever play with them? You ever play with them?
I shouldn't I?
Well, it might be fun. It might be fun to just string one along for a bit and see just how keen they really are, like what lengths they're prepared to go to.
If you transfer like $1,500 into this account, maybe
yeah, go the reverse. Try getting the reverse. Get some money out of them instead. I kind of want to say to any Nigerians, that to just feel free to send me, a part of that 100 million that you reckon's waiting for me, and I'll be happy.
I feel sorry for any Nigerians that legitimately fall in love with.
Yeah, I guess it happens, but it's like one of those things now. We kind of associate Nigeria with scams. It's like it's just it's and it's strange that the internet has that power to give us ideas about cultures. You know, like, you know, you and I'm pretty sure we get most of our ideas about America from the internet in some form or another. Yeah, and sorting through it and knowing what's what and that kind of things.
Yeah, it's hard because things do get so twisted. And I have friends in America, but I mean, my friends in America, they're all pretty left, you know, so I'm
Yeah.
still only really getting one side of the American story as well, direct from Americans.
Yeah, okay. You have Australian friends in America as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's a whole other thing, you know. I think if you want to get like brutal honesty, talk to your Australian friends like, oh, these dickheads, look at what they're doing.
But again, all my friends in Australia, they're all really left, you know, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I am aware that because of the people that I hang out with, I am in a little bit of an echo chamber.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a strange thing. It's a really strange thing, and I'm fascinated by it that so many ideas and perceptions, I guess, you know, we form for ourselves, and we think that they kind of become ingrained, and we think they're our own ideas, but really they're based on really flimsy pretexts. You know, we seem to have these ideas, and they feel solid. You know, it feels really solid, and I'm sure for Americans too, it's the same way. And in that sense, I feel that America is really, I think they're out of touch with where they're at. Maybe because I don't really know what's going on in America. I'm not living there. I mean, you know, if I was there, I may have a different opinion. But it does feel like, you know, America says we're the greatest, definitely the most powerful country in the world. Perhaps China, you know, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
very.
Yeah, but
the thing is, like, they say they're the greatest country in the world. At what?
wars.
Yeah, like none of the facts seem to back up. You know, like, you know, their education isn't the best in the world. Their, you know, wealth, personal wealth. You know, they're not on top of that. Their health system is not. You know, like, what are they the greatest at?
Yeah, and I guess for them, you know, I guess the answer would be something like freedom. Like, we're the freest. I can tell you, living in Thailand, I have never felt more free in all my life. Never. And that's, I love it. I love that place. I tell you, that is my home. Thailand is my home, and I can do whatever I want. And if I'm not hurting anyone else and I'm having a fun time, no one gives a shit. They'll just leave you alone, or they'll come and party with you, or have fun, or what are you doing, ride motorcycles? Let's go ride motorcycles. You know, woo. But yeah, like, no, oh man, you know, you're going down the shops and you're not wearing your helmet. What? Oh, the cops and
or you go down to the shops and you're a black man. You're going to your car, and then the police have had a report that someone who was a black man stole something. Then they come and shoot you. You know, like that's not freedom. That's, you know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the other side of it too is that I kind of noticed being here in China, because China's super disciplined, right? You know, it's super disciplined, and everyone, like the students at my school, they go to school from 6 o'clock in the morning till 8:40 at night.
Holy moly!
But actually, they probably get up at 6, so they start at 7:10. 7:10, they're doing morning exercises, right? And at 8:40, that's when that's night study, and night study finishes at 8:40, and then they're free to go back to their room. They have a room at the school, and that's Monday to Friday. Yeah, and they study, and I mean, my students, because they're a little wealthier, are pretty lazy and don't really care too much, because Chinese wealthy is wealthy.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So they're not too concerned about, you know, good grades. But when you think about it, you know, I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are, but, you know, just at a tiny estimate, right? Probably about 400 million high school kids, I'm guessing, roughly. Right? That's about just under a third of the population, about a third of the population. So if you want to get into that university, that is a really good university, you need to be in the top, how many students can go to that university? And I don't think, I think maybe 20,000, maybe there's universities that take 100,000 students or something. But you need to be so, you've got to be getting 99 or 100 just to get into one of those universities. So competitive. And so they're diligent, They ain't got time fucking around, smoking weed and, getting pissed. And, well, mind you, they do get pissed. But you know what I mean? Like, it's serious. This is like school and education is important, because if you don't get it, this is the difference between you sweeping the gutter or getting a job.
Yeah.
Like there are, I think most people are employed, but, there's a lot of jobs that aren't great jobs in China, Yeah, like manufacturing, of course, because China, everything turnover, anything at home, it says made in China.
Yeah.
But yeah, super.
So I have a friend who teaches in South Korea, and he tells me that the style of learning is very different, and the style of teaching is very different in that he tries to encourage them to be creative thinkers and to creatively problem solve, but that is it's not something that's encouraged over there, that they tend to more learn by like rote, and they tend to be more structured like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I'm always fighting that at school. I'm like, if they're disciplined, I'm like super undisciplined. Okay, now all the people who are at my work who listen to this podcast, right, just don't take that the wrong way. But no, seriously, I am pretty undisciplined. I try to give my kids as much room as possible, purely because I want them to push the boundaries, and I want them to explore outside of that. And I'm always trying to say to them, let's think about this. Don't just, regurgitate what you've heard before. And if one person says it in class, that's what everyone thinks. It's like, that's the right answer. There is no other right answer. That's the right answer. There's one answer. And I fight with that all the time. Really struggle with them to think their own personal view, because China is a very, to a certain extent, like a hive mentality. That it's we the Chinese, we the people, the people's. The hospital here is the Chinese people's hospital. It's like the people's hospital, and they're very much like that. We are Chinese, and together everything is together and collective, and it's all about relationships. Everything in China is about relationships, who you have, and making good relationships, and they're very honourable about those things as well. So, and I guess getting back to what we're talking about, and the discipline was, America saying, like, kind of the complete opposite of no discipline, and look at us, aren't we free, and all that. And now I'm not talking about specifics about how COVID was dealt with, but what I am saying is that the Chinese people were more likely to do exactly what they were told, and stop COVID dead in its tracks, whereas America, like, fuck you, you can't tell me what to do, rah rah rah, and they've got this. It's like they're unschooled children, that they don't have that discipline to realize that, man, the government's saying this for a reason. They're just automatically going, no, conspiracy, like, fuck you, you just want to, and what about the vaccine? I'm not having it, and like, whoa. And and so, and it made me think of Australia as well, that because Australia as a nation seems to just want to be America.
I think
not holus bolus.
It's a lot more moderate than America in
definitely
much every way.
Yeah.
I think I know that now there's a lot of pushback against the lockdowns, but for the most part, I think from my experience in Perth, most people were just like, oh, there's a pandemic, everybody's we don't want to get sick, so everybody just kind of took it upon themselves to be pretty sensible, really. And I don't think that I think everything kind of would have been mostly okay because people are just, I mean, it rains in Perth, people don't like to go out. So we would have been fine. Oh, lockdown, great.
Yeah, look, it's raining anyway. Who cares? I'm staying in anyway.
But yeah, I think that definitely Australia does tend to follow America a little bit.
Yeah, I think one of the things from COVID is that, well, that I'm getting anyway, or that I think is that there needs to be perhaps a little more discipline. And man, I am like the most anti-disciplined person ever. I'm all for free. Do what you want, man. Like, I'm all cool with that. But I do think that in some senses that's a little immature, and I think culturally, I think cultures are starting from COVID are learning we need to be more mature as a culture.
Yeah.
I think I don't think I haven't seen anything done about it, but it's not to say it's not out there. But I think that we need to start introducing this idea of cultural maturity that we kind of don't have. We've kind of let culture just like a flower, grow and bloom and spread and be lovely and wonderful. But we're not very keen on having the branches trimmed so that the next lot of flowers grow even nicer. Where
that's really the analogy, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we don't want to be pruned, and it's like we know ourselves that this is part of what makes things good is to have guidelines and things like that. And I'm not saying that I know what those should be, but I do think that we're missing some kind of cultural maturity, and I think looking at America, that's kind of, that's where I see it. I see like, whoa, like you guys are acting like children, but the consequences of what you're doing are just insane.
It's really hard in America because it feels like politically people are being contrary intentionally. So one politician says this thing and then the other opposition says the opposite.
Yeah.
And so they're getting mixed messages as a people.
Yeah.
And in a situation where that's happening, people really need to learn how to think on a community level, think for themselves, do their own research from proper sources.
Yeah. Well, definitely not from Trump. Man, that guy, he just bullshits, and then it's just like, nope, it's fine. Like, just believe me, that's what I told you. That's just it. What did they say? What's that quote? But these are alternate truths. I was like, what the fuck did you just say? Alternate truths? Oh my God. I really, when I heard that, I was just like, man. And you letting someone say that, and of course the guy goes, there aren't things called alternate truths. They're actually lies. Those things. It was just, but I think it's
here. I saw some great examples of community helping each other out.
Yeah.
But people just need to stop just being so selfish, I think, really. It's an illness, it's a virus. If people do take precautions, then a lot of stuff can go on as normal, if you're being sensible. It's not that difficult. You just need to, look after each other.
And that is, to me, the absolute craziest thing about the whole thing. The one part of it that's difficult, if you don't have a job, or if you have a job and then they stop your job, I just cannot believe how lucky I have been. I was in Thailand when COVID started. I did a few classes online in China from Thailand, and because no one was going to school, and then the Chinese said to me, "If you're coming back, you better come back now." And I was like, right, okay, well, and I was like, no, man, fuck this. I want to stay in Thailand because I want to ride my motorcycle and I can do that on the weekend and I can, I'm having a great time because I have a place in Thailand, so like that's my home and everything I own is there. So, I was, look, I'm at home and I'm teaching classes and this is a great life and why would I want to leave? But I bit the bullet and I came back, and thank God I did, because everything just shut down. Like close. And if I decided to stay in Thailand, I would still have a job. I'd be able to teach in Thailand because I was doing that before. But I would have been screwed, really, like a lot harder. Yeah, definitely. And we came back, we did the quarantine and all that here. But there are people out there who have, been told not to come into work, and they're not getting
Yeah.
money. My God, man, I'm pretty bad with money, and I could have easily, in a different scenario, if I'd been in Australia or something, my God,
Yeah.
I might have been in dire straits, and so I understand and that is a really difficult thing about that, and I think to a certain extent, I think the government dropped the ball on that, like all governments pretty much. Some didn't, but a lot of governments did drop the ball on understanding those people
Yeah.
who were kind of displaced and no finances. And America gave out like checks for $1,500 or something. I was like, God, I don't know how long that'd last. I mean, it might last you a month, but it's not,
Have they put in other things in place? Like, are they
Yeah, I'm not.
other benefits?
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know much about it, but I know one of the guys here got a check because he's American. Lucky guy.
Yeah.
But yeah. So not to minimise that, but really, it was it's just been a simple ask. There wasn't a lot of rules. It wasn't a hard thing to do. It's like putting on a mask is not difficult. It's a little bit uncomfortable if it's hot. I get it. They get hot, yeah. And it was hot here when we were wearing them. We don't wear them here in China now. I mean, people are wearing them, but don't have to. It's like,
Yeah.
but also the other thing, and this is kind of a grey area one, is that the Chinese, because they have control, they can really effectively manage their people. And I don't know if I would be an advocate for that much control. But I noticed, I think Google or some of the others have applications that monitor your proximity to other people that come down with COVID. They monitor everybody and can tell when you've been near someone who has COVID. I think there's an app that Google, I don't know if you had to download it or if it got downloaded without your permission, like to your...
Oh, that's lucky.
Yeah, that's not cool, but I think there's that. Whereas in China, that is you have to have that. Like
Wow.
I can't go into a shop in China or like a shopping center, a mall, without showing them my code to say, look at me, I'm healthy. I haven't been near anyone. Yeah, so that's pretty full on. But also, I see the value of that. I see the value of that, and I think during a pandemic, perhaps you could have that put in for during the pandemic, and the police can't use it. Right, it can't be used by anyone other than the government to say your proximity to someone else who's had COVID. Right, apart from that, that's all they can use it for. But I think that is actually a good thing if used well. But fuck, who's going to use it well? Governments.
Well, I downloaded the Australian government one, but the thing is, what happens like after the pandemic, or a lot of the time
Exactly.
things happen and they put these things in place,
Yeah.
and then or things they distract you with the pandemic and they push other things through.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know, like, because I'm driving along the road and I see more and more cameras going up, and
Yeah.
it makes me feel a bit sick that everywhere I go I'm being watched and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Also, it's a pandemic, and you try and think more with the community mind, and
Yeah. It's a tough one for sure because, well, in China, you can't go anywhere. You're on camera 24/7 pretty much until you walk in your house. You're on camera. Yeah. Everywhere you are. Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit weird. You get used to it. Well, you don't think about it because I think you only think about it if you go looking for the cameras. And if you stop somewhere, anywhere, turn around, you can see a camera somewhere. There's a camera that you'll be on. So that's kind of a little bit of a weird thing. And I'm not sure that's so much an advocate for that kind of monitoring. But I do think that, like you say, governments do tend to make those things precedents. Yeah. And so after the pandemic, we'll just keep doing it because what if it happens again? Well, if I can stop it, and if it happens again, we'll do it again. I think, they need to be a bit smarter about it. But what I'm saying is there are ways to do these things, but I think it also highlights just the mindset of government. I think it really, now we're starting to see what governments actually think. And I think we know, but it's proof is coming out, that just the way they're behaving and the suggestions that they're making, some of the things that get suggested are, things that I don't think we would, these become civil liberty ideas that need to be discussed a lot more than I think, being rushed through because it's a pandemic. Yeah.
I agree. What are your thoughts on the vaccine and like mandatory vaccination and things like that, or this particular vaccine when it comes through?
Yeah, right. So my brother's a doctor. I've told you that. So,
yeah.
And also, so he may or may not like what I'm about to say. But do you think the flu vaccine works? Do you think that works, the flu? I don't know if it works. People still get the flu. I don't know if a vaccine is really going to do anything. I've had flu vaccines. I kind of got a little bit sick from them. I don't tend to get the flu very often, but when I get it, I get it. I get the flu. But the flu's still around, and we have vaccines. So I think COVID's going to be around, and I think SARS, like an Ebola, and there's lots of pretty bad stuff out there, and that's what really, I guess, in my mind, has made me go, why now? Why wasn't it SARS, or why wasn't it Ebola, or why didn't things shut down? And now this mass hysteria almost, about panic, real panic about this thing, and like you say, now they're talking about vaccines. Look, man, if that thing works, give it to me, and I mean, probably give it to me anyway, just in case. But I'm kind of thinking, I don't really think it's like my point is the flu, right? The flu has been around, it's still around. There's vaccines. I think it should be optional. I really think it should be your right. I don't think mandatory vaccination is I don't know, it's a tricky one, right? I mean, am I eating my own words here by saying cultural maturity and then saying, yeah, no, I don't want a vaccine though. I think we should all be really mature, but fuck having a vaccine, I'm having that shit, like, get away. No, I don't know. Yeah.
I think my concern with this one is the speed, at which it's come out. Things like vaccines for, polio.
Yeah.
They've been around forever. So we sort of understand what the long-term effects are. But this one, I honestly do believe that everyone should have the choice to be vaccinated or not. And I am vaccinated, and I choose to be vaccinated. But this one, if it's mandatory, that would be very upsetting.
Well, okay, so here's the thing, right? So I'm in China and I want to go to Thailand. I'm pretty sure that if I want to go to Thailand, I'm going to have to show them that I've been vaccinated. Not yet, but I think...
But when it happens.
I think, in a year's time, probably when it's starting to get back to normal, they're going to want proof of a vaccination. And I think the tourism industry is going to start doing that. I think you'll see that because tourists are coming from all different countries and they're not trusting the people from the other countries. So they may not want to be being vaccinated, but they're saying, yeah, but what about that guy? I don't want to be in a resort with that guy if he hasn't been vaccinated, and yeah, I can kind of see that the tourism industry being a big party to this, or to the reason people getting vaccinated. That everyone might say it's by choice, but then if you want to travel, get vaccinated or you're not traveling. Yeah,
I can totally see what you're saying playing out.
Yeah. I can too, unfortunately. It's
I feel like in this world you're given so much freedom of choice, but really when it comes down to it, it's very limited.
Yeah, the systems of control are often systems that you choose because it's in your best interest to choose them. It's kind of like, we'll just guide you down here and you can say yes or no, but you can't go there if you say no. you know, these things are denied to you if you say no. Yeah, it's a little bit scary.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, Desi. Well, it's been great chatting with you. It's been good to see your face again.
Catching up with you too.
Yeah, it's been really, really good. I've really enjoyed talking with you and hearing about. I like hearing about roller derby. That's new for me, so that's kind of fun.
Bam, bam, bam. Ah.
Yeah, yeah, just one of those things I never knew anything about and really wanted to know. And you're the only person I know that did it.
So much fun.
Yeah, and great to hear about your art and all the best. And now, just for people, do you have websites or places where people can look at your art and all that? Do you want to?
Yeah, for sure. Probably the easiest place is Instagram at Desiree Crossing. And then from there, I have links to other places. So
Yeah, sure. Maybe you can send me some of those links and I can put them on the podcast as well, and people can check them out from there as well.
that means I'm going to have to get my website back in shape myself.
Well, an absolute pleasure. I've had a great time. It's been great talking to you.
Likewise.
Okay. Well, thanks,
Thank you
Desi.
so much.
Okay, and we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye. And that's it.
Yay!
Yay. See, that's easy, isn't it? Such an easy thing to do.
It's so easy. We're like
Yeah.
got into some full conspiracy stuff happening there.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff